Going?
Good. Good,
Rocking and rolling?
good,
Having a good time?
good.
Oh,
So do
awesome.
we want to start recording, Kenzie?
I'm recording. We are
Oh,
on.
oh, we're recording.
Well,
Okay,
yeah, I see my recording button, so already I'm making a fool of myself in front of everybody. So.
great. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us tonight on Romy's Rock Stars for our weekly team Sizzle. We are fortunate enough to have Curtis with us tonight. I'm so excited to learn from him. Mark is still recovering. And Romy, I was chatting with her earlier, and I said, how are you doing? Because oftentimes, the caretakers start getting burnt out when they're taking care of somebody. So I said, you need to rest. And she said, well, why don't you host tonight? I said, okay. So she's resting per my orders, and so is Mark. So
That's
you
awesome.
can
I actually said, Romy,
and I might have to
we had a meeting instead of Lise, and then she sent me back and said, oh, I won't be there. I'm taking care of Mark. So I hope he really is doing better. And that was so sweet of you guys to give Romy a break.
Yes, exactly. So thank you again for being with us.
Well, it's good to be here. I'm looking outside here in Hong Kong, and it's an ugly, kind of a nasty day. We had a typhoon warning a couple of days ago, massive rain the last couple of days, and so it's just been really rainy and drippy. And I get to come here, and this is like the sunshine location. This is like the Sunshine Central. So it's absolutely fun. And I know it's been a while. We've been doing so much over here and been traveling so much, and I was back for Success Partners University in Dallas, and then flew back to Hong Kong, came in for the NMP, and then flew right back out. And so this is kind of fun because I get to stay seated and get to stay in one place and get to chat with you guys. So here's what I did. I was talking with Lisa, and she kind of shared, the types of topics she's had these last few weeks. And we kind of talked about what might be something that we could just kind of bring that would be of good value and kind of continue that process. And so what we're going to talk about just briefly, that whether people who are joining us here or as they watch this recording, one of the things that we talk about in our profession is leaders and leadership and that kind of thing. And I think that it's a very misused term a great deal. Sometimes it refers to somebody based upon, their rank or their check. And I've known people in our profession who got to a particular level, either with, again, their rank or their check, but they're not necessarily what I would consider a great example of leadership necessarily. And vice versa, I bet people who are very new don't have large teams, but in their presence, you realize you're in the presence of great leadership, because leadership is really a mindset. It's not, in other words, in order to lead, you're only leading if someone's following, and you can only have people follow if you're worthy of being followed. It can happen in a short term, but long term, it really only happens when someone has created an environment that is worthy of being involved in. And I remember watching a training that Eric Worre had done and turned into a product that he'd sold, an informational product, an educational product. And it was talking about how to, even when someone begins, a way to perceive their business to be in the best possible position mentally to move forward. And one of the things was that as you begin, make a decision that you're going to become the leader of your group. And what I want to talk about is that there is a vast difference between being a leader in a group and a leader of the group. And that's what I want everyone to think about. Leadership is about having the answers to the questions because you had the experiences. And so someone can start their leadership path very early in their process. If they go through a process, or if there is a system that a team operates, and when someone gets started, do this step first. These are the things you do first. That as people complete those steps, they can now lead with regard to those steps. And ultimately, but let's say you want to, a team goal is go out and acquire 8 to 10 consumers. And how do you do that? Might use a hot market system we've taught here before. And you go through a simple process of communicating with people in a contact base, not about joining a business, but benefiting from a product, following a very simple conversation that anyone can choose to do if they so choose. Many may not choose to do it, but that's really their choice. And so what they do is they go through this simple process and they accomplish it. Well, technically, they're capable of leading others in the learning and execution of that process. And so great leadership is really great mentorship, meaning I have done enough things and I've proactively gone aggressively into an execution of action continuously, not really good at first, but I get better over time so that once I've accomplished it successfully and I'm in a position where it becomes more natural, I can become a team mentor in that area. And then one day I'm at the top and I'm a blue diamond, black diamond, royal spinning widget, triples, Grand Starfleet commander diamond, because I've just had so many experiences. The decision to become a leader of a group is an empowering decision. It's a terrifying thing, but it means that I'm no longer going to get bogged down in the things that aren't perfect. I will identify them, I'll recognize them, I will choose to be a participant proactively without encouragement to correct those things that I can correct, and then I will work with the company or others to ensure that it's being addressed, but that's okay. I'm going to proceed, I'm going to move forward, and I've made that decision internally. In other words, I'm going to observe the best leadership I can in a way that I'm trying to observe who they are and what they do and what they've become, because that's what I wish to do. It's not that I don't want to rely on these Zoom conferences. It's not that I don't want to participate with the team and with the things that the other longer term leadership are doing with this team. I want to be a part of that. But I've decided one day I want to be that person that for my team I can control. What happens is when that mindset decision is that that's my objective, and then in one of the things that Eric had taught me in his a proper way to get started training was make the decision early on to become the leader. and a way that my mentor put it years ago, and then we'll talk about a set of steps you can go through to make that happen. Well, my mentor told me, he said, when someone first begins, you don't want to impose upon them the sense that if they don't think this way, they're less than, or there's something wrong. Because everybody has to arrive at there are some who will become a part of your team who really are very content. All they want to do, or at least at first, the only thing they feel that is, what it is their focus is, let me gather some consumers, some customers, and let me create some retail profit. And that's great. What you're looking for are those who, at least from the beginning, and it's a matter of reaching into your group and working with people to ask questions, not impose upon, and find out maybe what their real desires might be, even if their experience is so little. So that if someone says, no, I want no limit, and if that's what they're saying, sometimes they will say that because they think that's what you want to hear. And that's okay. Then give them a path to choose to run or walk on. And if they run on that path, then you know that what they said is really what they meant. Sometimes people will say it, but you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. Give them the path. And those who then choose to run, go run with them. And the idea is not to decide that you wish to remain the leader of them, but as you have become a leader of your group, you want to develop leaders of their groups. And it's a simple mindset. My mentor once said, you want to have a decision, or you want to make a choice. If great result one day is what you're looking for, make the decision that you wish to become on stage capable as quickly as possible. And what I mean by that, the leadership that is capable of going and standing at the front of the room. Not that you have to go stand in the front of the room. Some people are terrified by that. But the concept is they have an ability to coach and mentor. It's not to beat down and impose, but I have an ability, and I've taken it upon myself to become capable to share the stories. Let me share the story of the company. Let me share the story of the products. Let me share the story of our business model. Let me share the stories of the various types of things that we teach and coach in Super Saturday trainings. Let me share the stories of how you learn for the purpose of teaching, not just learn for the purpose of doing. And that the day you become on stage capable, look for those within your groups who obviously by their actions, not their words, appear to be choosing that same path. And your desire is to replace yourself with them, not glorify yourself by remaining on the stage, but rather getting off the stage, being replaced by them. That's the mentality of a leader of a group, not a leader in a group. And when you are able to develop that mentality, then you truly become or start to create an environment that encourages, growth, that encourages increasing goal setting and increasing desire simply because of your own actions. And let me give you an example of what I mean. A leader of a group is someone who leads by example, not by direction. When you start leading by direction, that's when someone tries to they're not leading as much as they are trying to manage. Let me share with all of you what you should do. Rather than, don't even need to really say that much, because let me show all of you what you should do because I'm choosing to do that. So the true leaders are those who continue to always enroll, because they're in a mindset of, I'm not here to pitch people. I'm not here to convince people. I'm not here to manipulate people. I'm not here to close people. I have a desire to find people who are like me. In other words, I came from a sales and marketing background. The reason I failed the first couple of years in network marketing is I thought it was about sales. I mean, I thought I was here to sell a product. And product selling can be a natural process. I can choose to hot market, and so I select people. But when I go into a team building mode, product sales can happen organically if my team building was done properly. Because part of evaluation of a business is evaluation of a product. So if I'm not trying to push my business onto people, but instead I am focused on them saying, I wish to, what I taught at the NMP is, it's a way to overcome fear, is stop selling, that's intimidating, and start testing, and that is simple. In other words, what happened to me is I had a friend approach me and ask me years ago, because I had my own businesses, I was very successful in them, but they were businesses that the income and the revenue was a result of the effort. As long as the effort continued, the sales continued, the income continued, but there was no residual nature to it. If at any moment I stopped or my sales staff stopped, our revenue literally instantly went to zero, which was okay because we were all very aggressive and very successful at selling. However, a friend approached and simply asked me a question from my perspective, not his. Yes, ultimately, he might have wanted me to be on his team, his network marketing team, representing his product or service. But what he instead asked is, if I could show you a business model that, in addition to what you're doing, you and I could team up in, and there would actually be people who are experts that would work with us, and they would coach and mentor us through the process, where in addition to what you're doing, we could build a residual income business that even then later, if we aren't working day to day, we could still have an income. Would that be of interest to you? He didn't talk to me about a name of a product or a name of a company or a business model. He just asked a simple question. I could have said, no, I'm too busy, got no interest in it. Okay, then I was not who he was looking for at that moment, because mentally I wasn't open, because obviously he knew I had a business of my own. For me to participate in his, I would have to make a decision that I would be willing to do something in addition to what I'm doing. I wasn't going to walk from my business, or if I was a school teacher, I'm not going to walk from my students, or if I was an insurance agent, I'm not going to walk from my agency. So he presented it in a way, if there was a business project you and I could do in addition to what you're doing now, so that on the side we could build a residual income flow that even if we aren't working it a day to day, we can still create a growing income. And if there were people who would coach us through that, would you at least want to take a look at it? And I immediately said, sure, I'll take a look, because that simply was a question that made sense. Part of that process was he then introduced me to people. He didn't talk to me about the company or the product or the business model. He introduced me to the team. So he introduced me in today's world, it might be introducing someone to a Zoom call, introducing someone to a recorded Zoom call, introducing someone to a video, introducing somebody to a website. In other words, he pointed me elsewhere. He had all of the information, he didn't give it. And what he was doing was by his action coaching me. And when I finished looking at it, I had questions. And I didn't like see it and say, yeah, I'm going to jump in. Now back then, that was 27 years ago, so there wasn't any of those things I just described. I literally went to a physical meeting with 800 people, but still in today's world, the physical meeting could be done here on Zoom. And so I went to a meeting. It made sense. It was done professionally. Part of it was the conversation about the product. I had questions about that were answered. I had questions about the business model. They were answered. And when it was done, he said, based on the answers, do you see why it might make sense for us to team up and do this in addition to what we're doing separately and do this together? And I made the decision, yes. In other words, I could have said, no, I see it. It's all great. It's just not for me. What he did was he was testing me. And as a result, he started testing me at speed. That made the recruiting process simpler because he wasn't closing, he was testing. If I asked some simple questions, because if you think about it, all of you joined this team in doTERRA because whatever you saw and however you saw it, you received the impression that if you became a part of this team and participated in this program, you would be able to accomplish and receive things you might not already have. So, and whether that was just creating a small extra few $100 a month income with customer gathering, whether it was a combination of the two, or you saw this picture of great possible end result, whatever it was, you saw something and you passed the test and you said, based on the information, here I am. Instead of making people use that, that's what you're doing. The way to move at speed is you're looking for people like that. Test people. Let me give you an opportunity to make a choice to go see some information and evaluate. But I'm going to let you evaluate it openly. Upon evaluating, ask questions, and when you're done, I'm going to give you a choice to make a decision. Do you see what I've seen? Would you like to be a part of the team, or would you simply like to try some of these amazing essential oil products because obviously they will improve the quality of your life? Which is the best decision for you, oils only or oils and team? And then or neither. I mean, whatever it is, let it lie. And those who choose like you choose, it's easier to duplicate with. Here's what happens. The way leaders of teams do it is they continue to always do that because they're in the mindset, if I am a leader, if I've chosen to be a leader of a team, what am I developing? I'm developing an expanding global distribution network. That's what I'm in the business of. Spinning Starfleet Commander quadruple diamonds, they are not product sellers. Product sales happens throughout their organization by creating a culture of letting people find wherever they want to be. And those who just want to gather customers, they will have conversations just for that. I would love to have a team of 500,000, 498,000 of whom are customer gatherers, led by 2,000 who to varying degrees decide they want to be distribution network builders. I chose to be a distribution network builder. And they're two different things because I chose to move product as a result of not selling. And that was why I failed for 2 years. I kept selling. And I had people in my business that I had sold into the business. They had chosen to be a part of my team. And they hadn't made the choice the way I did. I did it just the opposite with them of what was done with me, which was why I failed. When I started doing with them what was done with me, it started to succeed. I chose to be a distribution network creator because everyone in the distribution network would be a product consumer. And all of us, if we did it the right way and we didn't sell people, which is a fearful process for us, unless someone's just a natural weird person like me and got dropped on their head as a child, which I'm sure happened to me many times, and I actually loved the challenge of sales, most people are terrified by it. So the reality is, rather than selling, which is uncomfortable, in having a mindset of, I wish to just give you an opportunity to evaluate information and make the choice that you believe is best for you. That's my greatest desire. And I care not what you choose. I only care that your choice to be a customer of these products only, or to be a team member and customer, or to be neither. I only care that before you make that decision, you be informed so you truly know you're making the best decision for you. I merely wish you to look at and evaluate information if you so choose so you can make the choice that's best for you. That's it. When I started going into that mode, then all of a sudden the people who were saying yes the same way I had. When that happened, I realized distribution creation was opportunity to evaluate and choose creation. When I did that, then my team started doing what I did. They didn't do what I managed and told them to do. They did what I did because it's a duplication. It's like children. I don't care what you tell them, they do what you do. So if your actions are not congruent with your message, you're going to get a replication of the action, not the message. And when that happened, I suddenly realized I am a full-time distribution network creator. And I will lead my team by doing that constantly and flat out until, as my team members do that and need help, I'm going to choose to be a source of someone who steps in, not just leaving it to Romy or those at the top. I wish to become like them. And so as soon as I can, in each of the components of total leadership of a group, I'm going to make it a mission over the next year or 2 years or whatever to personally become as proficient at it so that I can step into that role, so that I will now then continue to be a full-time distribution network creator and expander, because I'm now not going out and personally enrolling, because I have so many members of my team that are bringing people in front of me or in front of the system, part of which is me. So that if you think about it, if you look at Romy and Mark, they are actually full-time prospect and recruit and then team member developers. That's what they are. But now what they do is the team is so large, they're doing it for everyone. And then within the group, there are people who are leaders in the group. Now the next step is become the leader of your group. And it doesn't mean you walk away from Romy and Mark. It doesn't mean you do that. It means you've made a decision to become so capable. And folks, it's okay if that's a 10-year path for some. There is no time urgency. There should never be, that terminal comparison of others issue. There is your path. But the first step is that decision that one day I wish to do that. You will do it a different way. You got a different personality. There will be so many similarities to Romy and Mark and what's happened, because that's what happens. Like is attracted to like. But there will be some unique things that you will bring to your path that they couldn't and no one else could. But it's simply a choice. And so that's what we broke down with Lise. It's what happens is when people, there are certain decisions, and as we look back at our career, there are certain moments in time that at the time it wasn't something that was as apparent to us. But today, as we've looked back, and over the last few years, particularly, Lisa and I have done a lot of talking about what our paths have been as we have coached and worked with friends and teams and that kind of stuff. And it's been a process of going back and really being able to identify where those things happen in our career, and then trying to figure out if we can put that into a conversation we could share so that hopefully you can get it in advance. And what that means is I suddenly wrote, there were moments in my career where there was a shift, but I realized what happened was it was an internal growth moment. There was a tipping point where then I made a decision. Maybe if I'd been conscious of it sooner, I might have more aggressively moved towards that tipping point, and it might have happened sooner. I remember Holton Buggs, who's a great friend of Lisa's of mine, he credits Lisa with being really, even though they weren't in the same company, they've never, made money together. He just called her up, and just because he called out of the blue and said, I'd love some help, she said, sure, because anybody she answers the phone and says, I'd like some help, she helps. And then he went on to become, a couple of years ago, at that time, he was the #1 income earner in the world for a while. And he remembers saying that if there was one thing he's learned in his path, now that he's there today, that he realizes would have gotten him there sooner is if he had just believed bigger, faster. If he had simply made a mental choice, because today his belief is unlimited. He said, if I just had made a decision to believe bigger sooner or believe bigger faster. And all of it, as Lisa and I talked about, we realized that was really the key for us. There were moments in our career path that it just happened organically. But today now, if we can help coach people that if the big dream is it, you can work towards it. And the way it's about observing and then replicating. And so that way, and don't ever get into the management of your team. Get into the leading by example for your team mode. And then all those things that you see these great leaders doing, because they all do it differently, but they all do it the same, meaning they're all trying to, in their own way, because their style, their personality, it all varies. And that's the magic of network marketing. We build teams because everybody's different, and we work as teams because everybody's different. But the one thing that the leaders of a team do is they say, the buck stops with me. I appreciate all your help. I don't need to turn, I'll ask for advice sometimes, I'll look for mentoring, but I don't need to turn to you to deal with these issues. I'm going to step up, be the adult. And when my team members start to act like children, with love, but sometimes with firm love, I'm going to step down and go, okay, hang on a second. This isn't who we are. This isn't what we do. We're all big boys and girls, and things happen. That's life. But here's how we're going to address it. And when that type of thing happens, your team will accelerate, because your decision to be that strength for them, and not necessarily bow to them, but certainly not then impose upon them, not direct them, not be the dictator. That's not what we're talking about. It's be that person who internally has become so strong that you are the person they become attracted to. There's a condition that my mentor years ago shared with me. He said it's called the urgency of certainty. When you, one of the things we always talk about in our profession, we talk about belief. You have to believe. Okay, that's great. Think, believe. There's actually a better way to put it. What my mentor said was, Curtis, it's not just about believing. That's an initial step. You consciously say to yourself, I believe, I believe, I believe. He said, it's not when you believe, it's when you literally become belief. However long it takes, some people are able to literally make a decision that is so absolute. I believe, period. no matter what. And those people maybe have a little stronger intestinal fortitude, and that's great. I didn't have that. It took a while for me, but there reached a point where I suddenly became so certain that I knew, and I knew that I knew, that all of a sudden I was absolutely unwaverable. And I wasn't obnoxious about it, but there was literally nothing that anybody could say to me that was going to, that in any way negatively affected my course. It could be any member of my family, no matter how much older than me they were and how much I respected them and had. It could be anybody I met. It could be a CEO of a major company that somehow we crossed paths who had this huge negative opinion of whatever was going on. And I would almost laugh at any of them. There was a tipping point where inside I became so certain that any negativity just bounced off and kind of made me chuckle. And when I was in the presence of others, I didn't have to impose upon, because I truly, at that moment, I truly sought just to understand. Because I know what I know, and I knew that I knew it, that this is the most fair environment for people who come to it with little except great hope and expectation, or great desire for possibility. That if they will become who they're supposed to become, they never again have to ask the questions that most all ask, which is how. How do you do this? What do you say when they do that? When you actually become belief, when you are so certain that you know and you know that you know, you never ask those things again, because you will always say the right thing. You will always know what to do intuitively, because it just becomes a matter of it's who you are. You will never again sell others into something they have not yet truly inside decided they want. You will simply, it will become a natural thing that you are so certain where you are going and where you are leading your team as the leader of your team, that others actually become uncomfortable in your presence in a positive way. It's because they can feel it. They can literally smell it. There's an electricity that you give off, because there is a look in your eye, there is a sound in your voice, and there's just a way that you stand, because you are so certain that you become this massive magnetic force. And it really is the case. It's not some weird thing. It is. If you ever had a chance to go to a Berkshire Hathaway, Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett meeting, and when he walks into the room, here's the first, second, third wealthiest man on the planet, just depending upon who's what the stock prices are that particular year at any given moment, worth over $70 billion. And the humbleness, the humility, but the literal electric power that is felt when you are in that room and he walks in. And he doesn't come in loudly, he's not boisterous, and he's not arrogant. There is literally this magnetic force that is so overwhelmingly powerful, it's like you're pulled in, because he is absolutely certain. That when you achieve, that's what it is with Holton, that's what it is with Lisa. In their presence, they are so absolutely certain of the magic and the potential and the power of this profession, because there is no limit for anyone beyond what they impose on themselves. If someone makes the choice to become who they should be, because people say, well, what should you say? Or how do you say? Stop asking me what to say. Start becoming who you should become. And you will say it your way. And I will say it my way. But they will both be the right way, because your way is the only right way for you. But you have to become who you should become first. And then whatever you say will be correct, because you'll now have mastered the fact it's not about, the only time the evaluation is about you is when you were a prospect. The day you made a decision to join this team in doTERRA, it is never about you again, if you wish to create large-scale results. It is about them, but you are not imposing upon them. You are testing them to see who they are and if they are ready. Because, like I said, when you made your decision, there was something in your life you didn't have yet that you wanted. And based upon the evaluation of the information and however it was presented and the people you met in the process, whatever that was for your experience, you reached that moment just before you enrolled that you said, here's what I want that I don't yet have, and I believe if I do this with these people, I can possibly get it. The day that happens, all you are seeking to do is to find people who have something that they want they don't yet have. And if upon evaluating the information and meeting the people in the process, will they make the choice you made? The high-speed team building is about having an entire team who, out of integrity, as they look outward, it is not about them anymore. I don't care if you become a customer and buy my product. I don't care if you say yes and join my team. I truly don't. I truly only care that you evaluate information and make the choice that's right for you from an informed position, because I am seeking to find those who, upon seeing the information and evaluating it, will choose what I chose, not be influenced by me to choose what I chose. I want to test you to see if you are me, because I'm looking to find me represented in so many others in their own unique ways, but still. And when that happens, part of that evaluation is the customer, so that if it's done properly and with integrity and respect, the products stand on their own. You don't have to go sell the products. You can just point them at information and guide them through the information. And anybody who's got any common sense would realize these are great products and they have great value. At which point, if the business model is not for them, who wouldn't want the positive benefit in their life of the product? And if they really don't, then that's okay. They really weren't you in either case, either as a consumer or a team member, so that's fine. By creating that kind of mindset, you can now become the leader of the group, because the leader of the group is the one who becomes so certain. I don't need Romy. I want to participate with her and the others, because it will accelerate my power and my success as I build my team. So that's literally the process, is when you mentally decide there is no issue within my team that I can't step up and handle. If I'm facing something I've not faced before, I may call up for guidance, but I am going to be the rock, and I'm going to be where the buck stops, and I'm going to be the one that drives, because I'm going to be willing to commit to that growth. And when those things happen, if you really think about all of it, they're not fearful, because it's just, I really do believe in my product, and I believe in this opportunity, and I believe in this profession. I just believe. I am believe. And so therefore, I just wish to share in a wonderfully giving, serving way with as many as I can. But then I'm going to take it upon myself to devour every opportunity that I possibly can to become as skilled as I possibly can, to improve my capability as much as I can. And I'm going to proactively attack it. I'm not just going to wait for the Tuesday thing. I'm going to immerse myself. I'm going to read the books I should. I'm going to go through the personal development I should commit to. I'm going to try and dial into all the information, and I'm never going to miss an event of any kind whatsoever. I don't care if I got to walk or thumb it with a bus or whatever I got to do. I will be at every single event, because going to events does not create success. But the one thing that every single top tier leader of their group in every company in our profession has in common, they never, ever miss an event of any kind in the company. Holton Buggs, once he came and attended a GoPro and spoke, and he said, it is the first time in my 20 plus years I have missed an event of my company, and I came here to speak only because it was simply the company Christmas party, and I sent a video message to all of the company staff thanking them tremendously. But that's the only, he said, if it was anything other than that, I would not be here, because I have never missed an event in 23 years, and I would never stop now. So those are the things that you decide. And when that happens, that's when you are becoming who you should become. And when that happens, then you become the leader of your group. And so that's all I would share with you. It doesn't have to happen overnight. Yours could be a 3-year path, it could be a 5-year path, it could be a 6-month path, it could be a 10-minute path, because it's the decision that you make. The actions simply fulfill the truth you've already created when you decide. In other words, being a leader of your group is a decision. The process takes time. Gaining those skills, becoming, mastering those skills, making it second nature, of course that takes time. Give yourself a break. But being the leader of your group, not just the leader in a group, is simply a choice. And you could make it the day after you enroll. You got a much further path than someone who's made it about, halfway up the rank list, and they've been involved for 2 years, and then they make their choice and decision. So, the path may be different, but you can become the leader of your group the moment you decide that's who you are going to be. And then it's about figuring out ways that, in addition to being a part of this, you even create your own environment as well. And you do it for the purpose of gaining greater skill. And that skill is designed not for personal fulfillment, it's designed for personal service. I wish to be able to serve. And when that happens, then and you're rock and rolling. So that was kind of the message. There's a difference between being a leader in a group, and that's a great thing. But what your company needs, what your team needs, what your family needs is for you to make that choice one day, if you decide it's right for you, that with absolute clarity and certainty, you will become the leader of your group. And when that happens, even as the leader within a group, you are much more effective and your service will become much greater, and the people that you will impact and the circle you will impact will become much wider. And that's a great place to be. So there you go, guys. Just wanted to share that thought with you. And now you can think about it over the next week or whenever. And I look forward to the day you make that choice, because doTERRA needs it, the world needs it, and it'll be better for you too.
Wow. That was awesome, Curtis. Thank you so much. I feel so just inspired and fired up about that all. So I have a couple of questions for you if you're up for that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when we talk about leadership, there's some people I feel like who are just natural born leaders, like they were just born to lead. Do you believe that we can find people who have that leadership within them, but you can develop it, like they're just not necessarily there yet? Or do you think there's like a clear cutoff between people who are leaders or who are not leaders? And what do you look for in terms of characteristics when you're looking for leaders for your team?
Here's what I believe is about our profession. I believe every human being on the planet has leadership within them, but the style will be different. Gandhi was a massively powerful global leader, but he did not see himself as one. He simply became belief in what his philosophy and what he believed was right. His strength of decision made him a global impacting leader. Mother Teresa is a global impacting leader, yet from her position, she was merely someone who wished to serve children. She wasn't a professional speaker, but without hesitation, if she felt that it would serve the children she was trying to protect, she would stand before a United Nations group of hundreds of the most powerful and influential people in the world, and she would lead them through a process of sharing information to hopefully bring them to her way of seeing the world. So there are those dynamic leaders. I mean, they stand on the stage, they're like Zig Ziglar times 50. And in other words, what I'm talking about is it's not the style, because there are natural born leaders, but the question is, what it really comes down to is, in our profession, the leadership is not about the style, it's about the growth. Because, for example, and I love him to death when you know saying this, I think he'd actually forgive me. You watch Holton Buggs present on stage, and it is dynamic. I mean, the power, the strength, his energy, his passion, he builds to a crescendo and he's not a showman. That's who he is. I mean, he exhibits his passion in this monstrously robust way that just fires you up. If anybody saw the ANP, Matt Morris is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He loves to laugh. He's just I think he'd be a natural stand-up comedian if he wasn't a multi-million-dollar earner. And when Matt does his presentations, he starts off just so laid back and kind of self-deprecating and making fun of himself, and everybody laughs and they think, oh, this is going to be one of those light, simple, funny kind of a presentation. Okay, well, that's good. People have been serious and intense, so I'll be the funny. By the time he's done, he'll have people on their seats screaming, yelling, because he gets so impassioned. Then I can introduce you to a guy named Jim Faubert. Jim was a mattress salesman making $1,000 a month, 30 plus years ago in Minnesota. And Jim has built 2 organizations in his life of over 1 million people. And if you kind of think about combining an accountant with an engineer, that's Jim's presentation style. Very mild and calm, the most undynamic person you will probably ever be around. You're not, but the sincerity that Jim possesses, and the humility and the modesty, but the power of his absolute unshakable certainty that he knows, and he knows that he knows that there is nothing that anyone on the planet, no global leader, no president, no king or queen, could ever in any way deter him from his certainty that this is the greatest profession in the world. It is magnetically attracting. And that's why, as I've said, there doesn't have to be that type of person I believe everyone has massively powerful leadership within them if they can achieve a level of belief. How they will lead will vary dramatically because personalities will vary. But ultimately, it's about deciding that I know in this profession, when you begin to understand this, it is not about selling, it is about serving. But I serve with absolute certainty because I'm not here to convince you, I'm here to test you. I only seek to understand. If presented with what I was presented, will you choose what I chose? And once you choose to be in the business, will you choose to take every step along the path that I've chosen to take? So I'm never going to push you down the path. I'm going to lead you down the path. And you got people like Holton and Matt Morris who lead with this power and this energy and this magnetism. You got Jim who, if you aren't paying attention, you say, well, that's very boring, except his certainty and his humility is so strong. He leads as Gandhi would have led or Mother Teresa. And it's a calm, gentle way. And they're so vastly different. And yet all of them are massively powerful leaders. And I don't know that Holton or Matt have ever built 1 million person organizations. Jim's done it twice, and he's now doing it the third time in his 35-year career right now. And so, he is the most mild, meek-mannered of all three. And he has built massively larger than they have, and they're all multi-million-dollar successes. And so I think that the point I was trying to make is that I understand exactly what you're saying, but if you can lead by that certainty, each will find their path if they so choose. That's the key. If they choose. And then, because I believe every single person on this Zoom and everyone who will ever watch it and every member of your team, they have it within them. The question is, will they make the choices that will lead them one day to becoming who they are capable of becoming, so that by becoming who they should become, they will naturally attract through just that magnetic power of certainty, and they will naturally lead. And that's not something you can create. It's a choice that people have to make. But if you lead by that example so that people see what it looks like, that's how you, I mean, literally, if on the day they were first sponsored, if you put Matt Morris next to Jim Faubert, you'd say, oh, Matt's going to crush it. I don't think this guy's going to do anything. And Jim has built massively larger results than Matt has, at least to date. But both of them are multi-million-dollar earners. But you would have easily said, oh, Matt's the guy. Because he's just comfortable in front of people. And he's just got a natural relaxed, and, he can be, and Jim is not that way. But over the years, Jim's belief, as is Matt's, they are absolute belief, but Jim's results have been extraordinary. And so I don't think that you look, I think if you become who you're supposed to become, there will be a magnetic attraction to that. And when people see that it's, and by the way, you may not be the one who inspires, but your strength may inspire someone else on it. So you may have someone who is a Jim Faubert that has all this potential, and following you doesn't trigger that in them. But the magnetism you create keeps them there, and all of a sudden someone else who does relate to you and starts and triggers and runs all the way through and goes all the way through to that point, they see them, and all of a sudden watching them do it, that's something they relate to, and all of a sudden it does trigger them. And it might be 2 or 3 years later, it might be 10 years later, or whatever it is. There are people who've been sitting kind of dormant or, just casually or meandering, and all of a sudden something else in the environment triggers them because it didn't relate to you. It related to someone else who had related to you, and all of a sudden it triggers. And so that's the process. When you become that leader that you're capable of becoming, directly and even indirectly, that's what can start creating those triggers throughout the team over time.
That's awesome. That's really inspiring to hear that. I'm sure we all are looking for our next big leader and somebody who's going to be able to take the reins and just kind of run with the opportunity. So it's really good to hear that, if we step into our own, into our power, into our leadership, that we'll be able to attract those people to us.
Well, and that's what will happen. That's why I said it only takes one. It's kind of like the dominoes. They're all set there. If just one falls, there it goes. And you can control that by deciding, I will be the one.
Awesome.
And it'll happen. There will be those who would respond to you, Joanna, that wouldn't respond to me. They won't respond to Lisa. They won't respond to Romy. Mm-hmm. Because that's why you're meant to be here and to do this. All of you are there because if you step into that role at some point, there will be those who only you in that role would have been able to trigger. That's why teams are so dynamic. But if you lead by saying, I choose to lead this way, because that is a path that others can follow, even if when they get there, they are unique in their own right. So you just need to be that. People will follow. Some will never choose, but it's a choice. Some will never choose that. That's okay. They'll choose to be consumer gatherers, and that's great. I love that. In other words, they will choose. But sometimes it's like Romy's story. Romy had no belief that what she was seeing in the meeting was true at all. She thought it was all BS and it was all crap, and nobody actually makes $30,000 a month or $50,000. That's crap. She said, if I could just make an extra, $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month, I could see myself doing that, building enough customers with essential oils. So I'll believe in that. And then she got to that level and said, well, okay, maybe I can make 3. Then she got to that, well, maybe I could do 5. And then she started building more of a team. And then when she got to 5, well, maybe I could make it to 10. And then finally, when they broke through, because today, Romy and Mark have no limiting belief. But she began with the most absolutely limiting belief and skepticism and totally. And it evolved. Why? Be who you should be, and others may evolve to that. And some may take 5 years to evolve. Some may never choose to evolve. That's okay. That should never affect your choice and your decision as to who you are going to become.
Mm-hmm. That's a struggle. I don't know if anybody else on the Zoom can relate to this, but that's a struggle for me. Like, I don't understand why people will choose not to step into this great role and just take charge and build this amazing life for themselves when the opportunity is right there for the taking. Anyone, like in my mind, can do it. So I don't know. That's kind of hard to just accept that.
Here's what my mentor told me. He said, Curtis, he said, these are just the facts of human nature. He said, first of all, and these are some things he shared and embedded in me, and I always do this. He said, first of all, we don't change anybody's life in this profession. Only 2 people can change someone's life. God or whatever belief of a higher power they may believe in, and they themselves. That's it. So first of all, don't ever be arrogant enough to think that we change anybody's life. You're not God or whatever. That role's taken, and you're definitely not it. I'm not it. That's not it. If their life is changed, they changed it. What we can do is be a force and be a part of this magnetic and electric force along with the team and all these other individuals that creates an environment that for some might be finally in their life that catalyst, that spark, or that trigger that somehow triggered in them that switch that got flipped so that they now decide to change their life. But they do the changing. Don't ever take that glory. And if anybody ever walks up to you and says, thank you so much, you changed my life, say, immediately, I would recommend, I always have, I said, thank you. I so appreciate, I understand what your intent is, but Joanna, please don't ever take that from yourself. I didn't change your life. You changed your life, and you should be very proud of that. I feel so honored, humbled, and privileged that I could have been a part of an environment that helped you suddenly see that within you and do it. But don't ever give that to me. Keep that yourself. And then the second thing he said is, please understand that we are not here to save the masses, and we can't. He said, this is going to sound cold, but it's just a truth, and it should, if anything, inspire you to work harder. He said, because the masses are the masses, and they will always exist. Because no matter the fact that everyone has it within them, the truth is the majority will never choose. And the purpose of the masses is so for those who rise out of it, they can see how far they came, so that they can be that light for maybe others. Your desire is to hopefully be a light so that those who in this lifetime are willing to choose, as many of them who then you might be their catalyst, will suddenly shift, and they'll make the choices. But understand, they have to do the work. They do the changing. You can't change them. So neither should you accept the glory when they've done the work. You should never try and put upon yourself the responsibility of them doing the work. That is their responsibility. Everybody's an adult. Everybody has to make choices, and everybody's responsible for the results and consequences of the choices they do and don't make. But you can choose to make the choices for you. And you can choose to be an example that shows the path if others choose to walk it. But keep this in mind. However many steps it is to the top, each step taken, the majority who take that one will not take the next. So that's just the way it is. And he said, so your job is to, if your job is for you, what is your choice? So if you choose to relentlessly never stop and take every single step to the very top, great, because it's the only thing you can control. And then you are there to serve all those who continue to choose to take the next step, but you cannot make them, nor should you. You are looking for those who continue to choose and be there. And that's why when you become a leader of a group, you are looking to assist those who continue to choose their path to always be there as long as they keep choosing to be there to help them get to the top. But you can't pick them up and carry them to the top. So when you begin to look at things like that, you realize my responsibility is to be who I am capable of being and to make that choice relentlessly and to never give up on it. That's my whole job. And then through that example, allow others to see that it's possible for them. Encourage them, support them, but you can't pick them up and carry them. That's not your job. And so when you get those kinds of perspectives and they become embedded, it naturally, what you'll find is leaders like that. They're very humble, but they're very powerful. They're not obnoxious. They're not, hey, I'm cool, bow before me, kiss the ring, I'm the triple grand diamond poobah. It's like, wow, that's the most disgusting thing. And people that, again, they call them a leader because they got a check and a title and a ring. They're not a leader. They're just a disgusting excuse for an imitation of leadership. Real leadership is the person who never wants to go stand on the stage. I don't want to take the time. I want to see more of my people running across the stage while, like the great grandparent, I'm at the back just giddy applauding. That, I believe, is the greatest example of leadership. I got on the stage to show it's possible, and I've now helped others, so many others, step into their greatness by their choice that there's no room for me on the stage, and I'm good with that. Don't ever need to go back. That's I think the real process.
Woohoo! I love that. That is awesome. Such good takeaways tonight. Does anybody have any questions for Curtis?
Curtis, Iris here, and I've been with Romy's team for a couple of years. I've watched you from my start, and tonight, everything you said is ringing bells all over the place. And I think I'm growing into that leader that is going to be testing. The question I have is, how do you remain patient? Because I haven't found my builders yet.
Oh, the way you become patient is you don't have time to be impatient. Because here's literally, Iris, here's the thought. Here's the process, and here's the let me share a story with a woman who I believe she and Romy have met before. She's another great friend of Lisa's. Her name's Angel Fletcher. She's with another company. But Angel was someone, she was massively overweight and lost a massive amount of weight on a product of the company, became impassioned by it. She was a mentally abused wife and woman who was beat down, left that relationship. She was very much within a shell, but she's got this personality that is now gigantic. I mean, Angel walks in the room and not with arrogance, but with just love. She fills the room, but that's what was within her. But as a result, but she so believes now, she's been challenged by her team. It's so difficult to find people. She said, you guys, I just can't, okay, forget it. I'm going to show you guys how simple it is. And so she went running out on a Sunday morning once and started at 8 a.m. and started going to Target and Kmart's and walking through lines at checkout counters and finding people, because she was in a weight loss group, but she found people who were overweight and standing, and imagined, because she remembered when she was over, she lost 176 pounds. So, I mean, understand, she lost, almost as much as a couple of people. So, and so she would walk up to people and say, listen, honey, you are so sweet. If I could show you a way that I could teach you some things when you're not working here, that you could just do a little bit on the side, and maybe in 6 months you could get off your feet and have better, would you want to just look at it? Just you want to take a look at it. And then all she'd do is just, again, show them some basic information, let them choose. And in one Sunday from 8 a.m. until 10 o'clock at night, she had introduced so many people who said they'd be willing to take a look, that within 2 days she had sponsored 39 new people. She spoke to something like 60 some odd people. She would literally grab an item, she'd grab a thing of gum, and she'd go through this line. Then she'd grab another thing of gum and go through the next line. She'd grab another, and she's wiped out all the checkers at this Target, so she goes to the next Kmart. Then she goes to the next Walmart. Then she just sat there going bam, 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 bam. And then on her team on Wednesday call said, don't ever tell me you can't. Just tell me you don't want to or you don't care enough. That's all you got to say. Step up and tell me you don't want to or don't care enough. In other words, what she was saying is, I expose massively so many in such a short period of time and let them choose that within that, I find those, because again, keep in mind, the leadership will be literally about 1%. Bill Britt, one of the biggest team builders in the history of mankind on our second biggest organization in the history of our profession with Amway, said in my 30, 40-year career, I personally, because he started a long time ago, wherever, the old napkin presentation, I mean, literally, you met with him in a coffee shop because there was nothing digital. I mean, but he said, I personally showed the plan to 1,200 people. Personally. It's not, it wasn't like when I had rooms of 10,000, there are 5,000 guests or something. That's not what I'm talking about. I personally, one-on-one, showed the plan to 1,200 people. 900 said no, 300 said yes. Of the 300, most did nothing. 85 did something, 38 did a lot, and 11 people made me wealthy. So it's always a very elite percentage, but it is because he went through 1,200 presentations, and his 11, that's the kind of performance they put in. And then they had their key people who put in that kind of performance. Most people talk to 2 and quit. That's okay too. That's okay. And so what it is, rather than being patient, be who you're supposed to be. Go out and serve as many as you can, because again, I'm here to give you a chance to evaluate information to make a decision that is right for you. And then to give you the opportunity to keep making step by step by step decisions. And where you find your leaders are those who, with every step in front of them, they make the decision, take that step, and then they take the next one, and then they take the next one, and then they take the next one, as you have chosen to, knowing that will be a very elite percentage. And that's what Angel will tell you. She's had such success because she's personally enrolled massive numbers of people by selling none of them, asking questions of them. She was once challenged by her team to see if she could sponsor somebody in a strip club while they're at a big event in Vegas. And she looked at all and said, look, okay, fine. You think I won't take up the challenge? And so all these guys and her, they went to a strip club. She talked to this woman and said, listen, after your 5 minutes of dancing or whatever, I'd like to talk to you for 10. That's my deal. And she said, okay. Said, great. Where are you from? Well, I'm from New York, but I've traveled this circuit because it's the only way I can support my 4-year-old who's staying with my mom because my husband left me. And she said, great. If I could show you a way that you can make more money than this and be with your 4-year-old every night, is that what you want to do? And that person went on not only to enroll, but become one of her highest and fastest rank achievers. Why? Because Angel didn't see a woman in a strip club. She saw a person. And she simply asked her some questions. She didn't talk about the name of the company or the product or a comp plan. She just said, if I could show you a way that you and I could team up, and I've got some other people on my team who would help, so we could help you within the next few months be able to spend every night with your son, is that something you'd be interested in? She said, please, I get off in an hour. Will you please be here? I'd love to talk to you. And that person went on and is now a power builder in network marketing because she goes out and talks to anybody, anywhere, no matter where they are, about them. And ask them a question about them. And if I could show you something, would you at least be willing to look? That's it. And then after that, it's about choices they make. And so don't worry about patience. Ask yourself, am I being too patient in how many people in the world I approach and how I approach them to where? She literally sponsored 40 people by 12 hours on a Sunday, or 14 hours from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. She'd grab a pack of gum and keep going through lines, asking questions, and somebody could say, no, I'm not interested. Other people say, yeah. And 2 days later, 39 of the people she had spoken to said, I'm in.
Thank you so much. You always have great answers.
Well, good. Any other questions? I've stunned everybody into complete silence.
We're all absorbing it. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, we are giving away a white fur today, one of my favorite oils. So, Kenzie, do you have a winner for us yet?
I do. It's Jeff and Christy. You are the winners.
Woohoo!
All right, way to go. Get there early and get the name drawn fast. All right, that's good. That's good.
Shoot me your address one more time, will you? Thank you.
Well, good guys. Well, there you go. It's so much fun. Sorry I've been disappeared for so long. I've been traveling so much, so Lisa's been kind of the rock. So we'll get back to flipping back and forth and trading times. It's been fun. And it really is. I've got a chance to talk to Romy and Mark a little bit, over the last couple of months, and it's fun to see what you guys are doing. As a team, you guys are doing amazing stuff. So just keep it going.
Yes, the momentum is crazy right now on our team.
Time and just go rock with it.
Well, thank you again, Curtis. We really appreciate you and all your wisdom and all the little nuggets you have to share with us. So we really appreciate you.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.